Give Me Grace, a podcast by Alan and Nolan, is exclusively sponsored by the Corn Dog Company. Established in 2016, the Corn Dog Company has been serving up honey-dipped corn dog perfection in numerous locations around the country. The Corn Dog Company, home of the honey dog. With all that said, enjoy the show.
Welcome to episode 10 of the Give Me Grace project. This is a labor of love of Nolan Mickelson, and he brought me, Alan, or Corky Hansen, into the delivery room, for which I'm grateful. Too much? Yeah, it seems fine.
It does seem sometimes like it's an operation, for sure.
Yeah, it's something.
Yeah.
So, here we are. Let's go first to Nolan's notes while we wait for our guest.
I think the only main note, it was pretty exciting yesterday to hear from Jane Ann, and some people helped me get in touch with her, and
Yeah.
she's excited. You know, I always love to hear from these people who, you know, they're around and everything. They still have communication with people, but they're not on Facebook.
Right.
And, you know, Facebook's kind of been our go-to way of keeping in touch with people, but you know, a lot of people are not on Facebook, and that's fine. And so when we're able to get them to kind of join on board with what we're doing, it's an exciting thing that's going on behind the scenes. So grateful for that.
Yeah, that is cool. I'm excited for Jane Ann too. I haven't seen her ever, talk to her or anything for, it's got to be 30, at least, yeah, it's got to be 35 years. Maybe she was at the same Grace football playoff game that I was when my brother was a senior, when Chris was a senior, would have been around 95.
Oh, okay.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm excited because Jane Ann's my cousin, as I mentioned on a previous episode, fourth cousin, but I'll take it. You have so many cousins around that area that it's just nice for me to have a cousin. So,
Yeah, you have a cousin.
yeah, I have a cousin. So that'll be fun.
Well, there's lots of Hansons, but they're not necessarily related, right? So
Yeah, I really owe a lot to Jane Ann's parents and family, and that's an issue we'll get into.
Yeah, that'd be a good one
when we have her on. So that'll be fun. I've got a couple of things.
Sure.
I've got a quip. Oh, I don't know if I can do that. I'm gonna have to bring the camera to me. Hold on. How's that?
Oh, you've got
I've got my Napoleon Dynamite.
There you go.
On. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, they just had the Napoleon Dynamite thing in Preston, and
that's right.
LaFonda came off the bus at the Polar Bear Drive-In, and so people could do a meet and greet with LaFonda.
With the actress who played LaFonda?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, because she was good.
Oh, one of my sons, that was his favorite character, LaFonda.
Yeah, she was funny.
He called her Dufonda. At that time, he couldn't really, he was young, he'd say, this was Diego, he would say, Dufonda.
Dufonda. Yeah, that makes sense. That's cool. Andy May sent me a newspaper clipping from the local newspaper about that.
Yeah.
And my old neighbor, he's Lane's age.
Yeah.
And
tell him when he wants to come on, we
probably ought to have Andy on. Yeah. I would love it. And maybe we could get a cameo with Lane or something.
Yeah.
Join us, because they're close now. Their daughters get this, their daughters graduated in the same graduating class this past May.
Wow.
That was cool.
Yeah,
So, yeah. So quip one was thank you, Crystal. I'm wearing the socks. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
And the second one, just a takeaway from our conversation with Big Bear Hansen, Todd. I'm struck by what a full life the dude has. I think it's cool. He's the leader out of the gate right now for number of grandchildren. Number 5 on the way, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, I think he has 4 and then a 5th on the way. Or maybe it's 3 and a 4th on the way. I don't know. People have listened by now and they're correcting me, yelling at their computer. So it's one of those two. And then he has at least one kid still in school. I think just one. So Kirsten's the leader for having the most kids still in high school or younger. At 4 at least.
Again,
we'd have to go back and check the tape, but it's multiple. And Big Bear's the leader with grandchildren, and to also have one in school, that's pretty cool. So
yeah, and it was funny because we talked about him being a Rams fan, and I was going through, somebody put some of our Grace elementary class pictures up in our Facebook group, and sure enough, Todd's there wearing his Rams.
Yeah, I mean, he's been through
diehard.
Yeah, he's really,
from Rams to Rams,
from LA to St. Louis and back to LA.
That's right.
Yeah. So yeah, he's a diehard. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a lot of fun to talk to Todd, catch up. That was cool. Oh, look. First name basis.
Yeah.
And
there she is.
Oh, awesome.
That worked.
So cool.
Go, Lance.
Okay. Do you want to see him?
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's my tech support coming in.
Awesome.
To the rescue.
Hi, guys.
Lance.
Now, Lance, can you see my background picture?
I can.
Yeah.
I have to get really close.
So yeah, I had to take my glasses off.
Yeah.
So Kathy, you're with Nolan right over Nolan's ear there.
I did the best I could.
Yeah, he's right in the middle of the pic.
I remember my dress. I only recognize me because of the dress. I know what dress I was wearing.
I recognize the hair.
Yeah, it changed a little bit over the years.
Yeah.
Still good hair. It's great. It still feels like it works on the 80s day. We had an 80s day at school last year, and it was like, oh yeah.
You did it up? Oh, that's fantastic.
It was great.
Yeah.
That's
cool.
You can still do curly
You
hair.
remembered, I was going to ask. You had the muscle memory still to do your 80s hair. That's awesome.
Wow.
Yep.
Anyway, this is
very
great,
good.
Guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Lance.
Thanks, Lance. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Okay.
All right. So good to see you guys.
Yeah, likewise. It's been a minute.
A long time.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us in this very special episode. But they're all special, right?
They are. Actually, it's been
They're all fun.
awesome to hear everybody, and I don't know.
Good.
Yeah.
Reconnect in a different sort of way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been great.
We'll start out, first of all, tell us where you live, because I think you're in.
We've
Utah
actually
County,
had
but
debate
Courtney
about
couldn't
this,
remember.
so we need you to tell us.
Oh, maybe I should ask you, where do you think no one thinks I live in Utah.
I think you live in the Seattle area.
So almost exactly 7 years ago, we moved to South Jordan.
Oh, no, he's right.
I
From
was
the
in
Seattle area, at least?
We were in Vancouver, Washington. So,
okay, not Seattle area.
But we were in
Portland.
Washington. Yeah.
Portland area.
Portland,
Okay.
yeah. And we were in the Northwest for almost 20 years.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm just not caught up.
yeah.
I was close but wrong, because I thought she was in Utah County.
Oh,
South Jordan's not in Utah County. I
South
don't even know
Jordan
what the counties are.
is just south of Salt Lake.
Okay.
Yeah.
What county's that? That's not Utah County then.
Salt Lake.
Utah County's Provo.
Yeah.
There's Salt Lake County.
Salt Lake County.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I live in Lewis and Clark County.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, because we have the Missouri in our county. So,
Well, it was funny because with our last guest, which you would have seen by the time
Yeah.
this
Yeah,
comes
we
out.
can
I
talk.
haven't
We
seen
can
it,
talk
but I
about
know
Todd.
now because you wouldn't tell me. You said it was a surprise.
Our last
Right?
guest, huh?
Chad Kirby?
Oh,
That's the
that
one
one
you
just came out,
saw.
but we've done several since.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
there's a lag. Yeah,
Our
it was
last guest, we
Todd
talked
Hansen.
about South Jordan and West Jordan.
That's
So-
Yeah.
right. Yeah, there's no east or north. What's up with that?
Wait, does somebody live in West Jordan or South Jordan?
He did,
No.
maybe.
We
Did?
talked about it for some reason.
For some reason. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we actually really like South Jordan.
Okay.
Most of it. There's pros and cons everywhere you go, but
Okay.
Our question was, why is there no North and
There's no East Jordan. There's no North Jordan. It's discombobulating.
Maybe
yeah,
someday
and honestly, really, West Jordan is north of South Jordan.
That's what Todd said, that the West doesn't make any
wait, Todd.
sense. Yeah, it was Todd.
Todd
Yeah, I'll
Hansen.
tell you. Because you will have seen it by this time this comes out. So we can share with you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
our
lives
people
in
would have seen
Saratoga Springs or something
But
like
it-
that.
but
Yeah,
it's
he
a
lives in
secret.
Saratoga Springs.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't share. No, you can talk about it.
Yeah.
So you live in South Jordan.
Kind of the same,
Yeah.
but kind of not.
And tell us what you're doing nowadays.
This year is, well, for about 6.5 years, we moved here and I had a first grader and I just didn't know anybody and don't know anything. So I'm like, well, I'll get a job at the school. So I went and worked at the school for a while. Anyway, it just kind of evolved until this year is my first year. I'm a fourth grade teacher.
Wow.
Full time. Last year I did fourth grade half part time.
Okay. Well, this is stepping on a question later on, but
Yeah, I'll pause.
did you already have a teaching degree?
No.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Okay.
So I could tell you now, or I can wait till.
Cool.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
We want to have the viewers be in suspense and
Yeah.
wait.
How did you become
It's
a teacher?
super suspenseful about what's
Awesome.
going on in my life. Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. Okay.
So tell us about your family.
So I have one girl and 3 boys, and my daughter's the oldest. She's 23. She just graduated from UVU in deaf studies, which she was
wow.
an ASL major.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And she's working full time for Vivint right now, trying to get into the scene. It's kind of weird because it's not like you graduate and then you can become, you have these certifications, but you have to find the right thing and
Yeah.
find you the right job and not still having to make money and pay your bills, it's that thing.
Now, when you said she was fluent in ASL, you went something like this. Is that ASL for ASL, or is that
This is how we say it. We like to talk around the table that she knows ASL, but the rest of the family, like, we have our own language.
Yeah,
that
makes sense. Yeah.
We really don't. We like to make up our own science. She's like, you guys are just dumb.
Yeah. So I could see that. Yeah,
But
that
she
might
has
be
3
even
brothers.
offensive.
She has 3 younger brothers, so
Oh, that's a good point.
You got
So I'll get us back on track. What are their ages?
So then my next boy is 20. He's on a mission in Georgia, coming home in 17 days.
Georgia the country or Georgia the state?
Georgia, the state. He's in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
North. Super excited to see him. And then I have another boy that's 19. So my 2 boys are really close. Those 2 boys are really close. And he's actually also on a mission in Cote d'Ivoire, Africa.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And so
They speak French, right?
French.
Okay.
Wow. We.
Yeah, oui. And that's all I know. Oui. Bonjour. That's all I know. And then my youngest is an 8th grader. He will be an 8th grader. And like the family that I have is almost exactly like the one I grew up in. So I'm
Okay.
Because you were the youngest. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the youngest by quite a ways.
Yeah, by a significant margin. I didn't know your siblings like as kids.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? I knew them, but I knew them kind of as adults because you're younger.
So my sister was like 6 years older than I was. I was 6 years younger, and that's exactly the spread.
Okay. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Any of your siblings as close as your 2 boys in age?
No.
Okay. How far apart in months?
They are 16 months.
16. Okay, I have
It
17.
wasn't
Yeah.
planned. I was the one that was like,
Mine
wait,
wasn't
what?
either. Yeah.
A lot of things in life are not planned.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so much. We're not good at family planning. It's just there were some things we're really great about. That was not our
Yeah,
forte.
I tell my kids that the first two weren't planned to be so close together, but I don't tell them which one wasn't planned, so that it's to keep
Which one? Do you want to tell us now?
No, not that they'll watch this.
You can send me a message later and tell
I
me.
will. Yeah, I'll let
Okay.
you know.
Perfect.
You know,
Yeah.
it's funny, Kathy, these interviews are about you and the other people we have on, but yet we get a lot of questions to us because maybe we didn't cover everything in the first episode. So
Yeah, I'm
I know.
really good at talking about
So-
myself.
you
Well,
can.
and I think that's what's so great about this is that when you were interviewing those people, like Rochelle said, I'm like, oh wait, I have a
I
question.
have a question.
I want to ask you something. Like,
Right.
So
Yeah.
stop. Can we have, that's what I said. Can we have a chat on the side? I'm like, wait, I want to interject something about, and how
yeah, if you need to correct something from a previous episode,
no, there's
we're-
no corrections. So it's
We're
just
not confident enough to live stream them, so we just can't.
yeah, that
Yeah.
would be
With some people, we just couldn't have done
yeah,
it.
no, I know. I wouldn't trust myself either. So when Nolan
Yeah.
said we could edit it, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, can you imagine how intimidating that would be if it were live streamed?
Yeah, it's still intimidating anyway. I don't like seeing my face. Anyway,
no,
at
true.
school I had to I would do, maybe this is later, but I did over across, I had to broadcast for in my elementary school, we have 850 kids. So I would do an SEL, kind of a Wellness Wednesday, and
Yeah.
I had to do that. I'd
It
never
would
watched
make you nervous?
Oh, so nervous. But then I just eventually I was just like, I'm just not gonna, whatever goes, just do it. So
Because the kids can be brutal. They'll let you know.
well, actually, they're still elementary school kids, and most of the time they're like, Miss Kathy. They call me Miss Kathy. Miss Kathy, we saw you this morning, and I did this kind of breathing, and I'm like, yay!
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was good.
Awesome.
let's see. Tell us about. Do you have any pets?
Yeah, he's usually right.
She's
right
going to show and
next to me.
tell.
That would have been awesome.
I don't know where he went. He was he usually is right next to me, but
Maybe we'll get to see him.
we have one dog, and that's the only dog we've ever had. We've had fish,
Yeah.
like betas and goldfish. One time we had just moved, and my son went with a friend to the county fair, and he came home with this goldfish. Look what I won! And there's boxes everywhere. I don't want your goldfish, right? So, but
we got one for a birthday party one time. It's
a goldfish.
like a birthday present. Yeah. It's now we have to run to the store in 20
Right.
minutes or the birthday present will die.
Did you bring the bowl and the food and
Yeah. I think it was from someone who hated us. That's my theory.
I don't like your kid. It
was a goldfish.
That's what I felt like. Anyway, so that's all we had. But then actually it was during COVID. We got a dog. My husband has always been like, no pets. I don't like pets. I think he has PTSD. I think he had a bad experience with pets.
Mhm.
But right after COVID, I'm like, okay, I have a plan. So I told my kids, let's make a PowerPoint. We'll, go right at him. We'll
Reason.
And we all made our slide of why we would want a pet. Why would it be beneficial for us to have a pet? And so we presented it. It was a great presentation.
Awesome.
He just said I couldn't say no.
Yeah.
He's like, I didn't really have a choice. I'm like, no.
Awesome.
What's your dog's name?
Miko.
Miko. And what kind of dog?
He's a cockapoo.
Oh, okay.
It's my husband. That's part of why I think. And one of my sons are allergic to, dander and stuff. So we had hypoallergenic.
Find one. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you think he had PTSD, but maybe he had PETSD.
Probably. Whatever it is.
Well done.
We're starting with the dog jokes.
I know. That was a good.
That was a nice one.
That was a nice one. Good job, Nolan.
Thank you. We talked a little about your family. Kathy, we really wanted to ask you a few questions about your parents.
Okay.
And I know they passed. And one thing that we started this project thinking we would just talk about students, but we really feel that we should honor our teachers, our coaches. Tell us a little bit about your parents. Just introduce for those that don't know. I mean, if you were from Grace, you probably knew the Kimballs.
Most do, yeah.
Yeah, well, but my mom, it's funny because she would always say, we're transplants.
Right.
Because we moved there when I was 5 or 6,
Oh, okay.
even though I was there for, all my life, basically.
Yeah.
She was like, no, we're considered transplants because we're not like in here. So honestly, I was born when they lived in Soda Springs.
Okay.
And then they moved to Mackey. I don't know if you know where Mackey on the Big Lost River.
I
And
do know where Mackey.
Yeah, I know where Mackie is.
Yeah.
my grandpa and grandma had owned a like a summer rental, like a big fishing. It's called Trout Haven, where people would come and stay there during the summer and go fishing. And my grandpa had a heart attack and passed away. And so my dad felt like he needed to go. He was the youngest and he needed to go. So he went there. And at the time he was teaching, and I think he was principal at the junior high. So when he moved there, he became superintendent and
Wow.
tiny. Mackey was tiny.
Oh, okay. Like Grace.
Like Bancroft. They were in the
Like
same
Bancroft. Okay.
district
Yeah.
as Bancroft. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think I don't know, it was just a temporary thing. And my dad, but this is the story he tells, that he'd always wanted to be a trout farmer. And so he found this property right there on Black Canyon. And the story is that he took my mom to the edge of the Black Canyon and she got out and stepped on a snake skin and she got back in and she said, I'm never moving to this godforsaken place, I think is what she said. And somehow he convinced her. And then that's the story. So
yeah, it became quite an operation, the trout farm.
it did become quite the operation.
I know Cody Fowler worked there.
He did.
I did too.
You
I
worked
was
on
going
the
to say,
trout farm?
Corky, didn't you? And my recess, you think about that. Like,
I came on well after Cody had been there about 3 years when I went on. Yeah, it was just like my summer. It was one summer between my junior and senior year, maybe.
Okay. I was going to say
sophomore and junior.
Oh, no, because I was going to ask you was when we graduated, but I actually worked for the plant, down at the plant.
Yeah, and I was down there.
I know.
Yeah, so, after we graduated. Yeah.
David Shaw too, right?
Yeah, you were mowing the lawn down there. Yeah,
I was mowing lawns with my hard hat and my silk boots.
Yeah, I remember.
Did David Shaw work there too?
Yeah. Dave and I went out and fixed the flume, ironically.
Yeah, that's all right. Well, and because my plan was always just to work on the trout farm.
Yeah.
My dad told me they can pay you more money than I could pay you. And honestly, my dad and I are kind of similar, or we have some similar personalities, kind of stubborn. So I think he was like, I don't want you working for me, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's I wanted to find out, how long did your dad work in the school district in Grace?
So if we moved up when I was 5 or 6.
That's when he started?
I wasn't even going to school when he first started.
Right.
So let's say 5, and he retired that's why I said the year we went to our freshman year.
Okay. So probably 9 years, something like that.
9 or 10 years, yeah.
Was he a teacher first or?
In Grace,
he
was teaching in the junior high. He was teaching with Mr. Wilker, actually.
Oh, wow.
Craig Wilker. And then he's told me these stories. Like, I should have listened a little bit better, but I think he was originally a superintendent. The principal of the junior high.
Okay.
Okay.
If whoever's listening to this, you can correct me and that's okay. And then I think they needed somebody for the high school. And so.
Okay.
He was the principal at the high school, right?
Yeah. That's what it was for a long time.
Okay.
We both decided that neither he nor I would survive being student and principal together. And so,
oh, interesting. Yeah. You got your dad to retire then.
No, he was like, no, I can't handle that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do I have it right that he was principal when they went from Red Devils to Grizzlies?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. And he talks about that. There was a lot of people in the community that were.
It was controversial in some quarters. Yeah. Still, you're right. Yeah.
Still is. And,
Yeah.
and he'll say that. And I think that was one of his hiring points is like, I don't want to be a red devil. I mean, he had some
Interesting.
funny superstitions.
I always like grizzlies.
I mean, who doesn't want to be a Grace Grizzly?
Yeah,
I thought I
that's
tell people all the time. I'm like,
I think it's a good.
Grace Grizzly.
no, the alliteration is too good to pass
You
up.
can't beat it. You can't beat it, really.
Yeah.
Right?
The bear in the front.
I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. I'm
That's what
sure
I
he
always
brought
think
that
of.
one in too.
Right? The grizzly right there. And like, but we have the grizzly, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Actual-
Is it true that he went to Alaska and shot that bear himself?
Yeah, I should say yes, absolutely. And he drug it back and he stuffed it by him, right? Like stuffed
Yeah.
it.
He showed up
Yeah.
by dog sled one day and said, here's our new mascot.
That's a fishtail, right?
Yeah.
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 Sure.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about your mom.
So my mom was really like the peacemaker of the family. I mean, my mom and dad met at Rick's when it was Rick's. And this, kind of the story was my dad actually had scholarships to play football, like a whole bunch of different places. And he went to University of Utah, and blew out his knee, like before they even played.
Back then that was career ender.
That was it.
Yep.
So then he went to Rick's, and that's what he talks about. He's like, I would of course like to play, but then I would never have met your mom.
Yeah.
So you think about these, what if, and I don't know. My mom does make me feel emotional. I feel like a lot of the good that I got from my mom, like the work ethics, and I mean, because I was young and I was always with my mom.
Mhm.
Like I was always her little sidekick and just doing things with her. And when my dad got cranky, and now I understand. I feel like my dad was kind of cranky a lot, but he was going to school, being principal and working the trout farm. I'm like, he never slept, right? I'm like, he's exhausted. So
can you imagine the stress of being with kids, dealing with teachers and stuff all day long?
Yeah, let's go sweep a trout pen.
Feed the fish and build raceways, and
maybe enjoyed it. Maybe it was a really good.
No, and that's what he's going to say.
Like
My
a
mom
change
would
of pace.
say, "Why don't you go play?" That's what we say. She would say, "Go play on your tractor, right? Go push some big rocks." And just she had a way of just smoothing things over, and she was the fun. I think the fun in our family, and she worked. When we were in Mackey, she was like a secretary, part-time secretary, just to make ends meet, because my dad wasn't making very much money there. So anyway, yeah.
Where was your mom from?
My mom was from Star Valley.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So she grew up in Turnerville. So her maiden name is Turner, and so just off Bedford. And actually, the Kimballs also were from Star Valley. So my grandma Turner would always say, "But you're from the whole valley. You're related to the whole valley," and which is kind of true. The more that I've been there, and I mean,
kind of like Grace.
Yeah. Or no. Yeah. So
yeah. How about that? I remember your mom just being a sweet and lovely person.
Yeah.
She was always just so calm and sweet.
She was. And I laugh because I'm like, that's what I said to the peacemaker. I mean, somebody had to keep the tempers down, right? And on the trout farm. That was her.
I'll tell my story about your parents.
Okay.
I know Corky's got one too, but
yeah, I have a couple.
So my wife and I were living in Salt Lake in 1996, 97. BYU made it to the Cotton Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
And we get on the flight. My wife and I won tickets. We won all expenses paid trip to the Cotton Bowl.
Wow.
Through the radio station in Salt Lake City. So we get on the flight, and I see your parents. And it was so fun to see your parents there. I knew somebody on the plane.
Right.
Then the whole trip, we would bump into them at different things in Dallas and stuff before the game and stuff. So that was a good memory for me of your parents. Like I saw someone that I was familiar with.
You had a connection, right? That's like, wait, I'm here with somebody that I know. Yeah.
And it was cool, but I think I always knew that they were BYU fans, right?
They were. Well, when my sister went to BYU,
right,
we all kind of got on board.
Right.
Well, not all. Scott is still, whatever. He can be his own person. He always is always his own person. But that's when we're really true BYU fans. And then I went and we're
You're
kind of true
still a
Blues.
BYU fan, right?
Yeah. Even in their bad days. I mean, I don't have to watch them. I can still be a fan.
All right.
Very good.
You got a story about her parents?
Yeah, well, I have a couple. Neither is about BYU.
That's okay.
That's okay. We'll edit those out.
So, the first one is, so yes, I worked for George, down at the fish farm, the trout farm, and I couldn't have been very good at it. Cody had it down. I tried to
But
learn
there
from
was not
Cody.
much to be good at. I mean, I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, you also would have to know me to say that both things can be true. And George and LaRon were always so patient with me. And when I went on a mission for the church, they gave me a tie that was a fish, right? And I don't know what happened to that tie. I lost it. I might need to replace it now. Thinking about after this episode, I might have to order
But why
one.
a trout tie?
It was a trout tie. Yeah, it was lovely.
I'm sure my mom bought it for you.
Yeah, that probably, yeah. And so that was really cool. But the thing that I always think about when I think of George Kimball is he pulled me aside one day, and it was between, I think, my junior and senior year, because I was pretty sure that I was going to go on a mission. And for those who don't know, if there are any who don't know, the families pay for that. And I knew that my family would have no way of doing that. And George pulled me aside one day and he said, "You get ready to go on a mission and it's covered. It's done. You don't have to worry about money. You don't have to worry about anything." And I was blown away. And so I didn't worry about it anymore. And I didn't really ever ask how that worked, what that was about. I guess I didn't have to. And I've just been grateful for that. I think about those 2 years of my life just about every day. And George Kimball's a part of those thoughts. So that's something you don't repay, right?
Yeah, no,
You pay it forward.
I didn't know that.
The best you can do is pay it forward. So,
so you did learn something that you didn't know about Corky today.
Yeah, that's right. That a nice man in my life eased my burden. And it's really hard to articulate what a load off that was and what that meant to me and still does. Yeah. So that's story one. The other story is a little bit different. So around the time we were moving to Helena, we found ourselves in Grace. My parents were still living there. We went out to try to find your parents, and we went out to the Black Canyon out there, and we found these two lovely dogs. They looked just alike, probably collies. I don't know. Were they collies?
They're most likely Springer Spaniels.
Spaniels. That makes sense. Yeah. And they look just alike. And my daughter, Grace, fell in love with those dogs. And so I've got a picture somewhere.
You didn't always have. Oh, good. That's good.
They were so nice. And so we just went, and I think one time, I can't remember which time we caught up with your mom and which time we didn't, but we went there, and just off your house there, like just 20 or 30 yards probably was the canyon, So we went over to the edge and kind of looked down. Didn't step on any rattlesnake skins.
And I never did too. I was like, "Mom, are you sure?" Because I mean, there's plenty of snakes. And I don't think it was a rattlesnake. I think it was just a snake skin.
Oh, okay.
We never did see
fair enough.
I saw snakes, but
yeah. So we just walked over there, and these two dogs. I've got a picture somewhere, and I'll see if I can get it inserted in the video here, if I can find it, of Gracie standing next to these dogs. They were just, she fell in love. So that's story two. Anyways,
and I love that you have a daughter named Gracie.
Isn't that cool? Yeah.
That is it was it was grandmother's, right? Your story where
Nicole has a great grandmother, and I have a great grandmother named Grace, but it's kind of after the town too, I think.
I mean, I just think I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I should have done that. But
Yeah.
I only had one chance to name a girl. So
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, those are my two stories.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. I mean, I
See?
had no idea. Those are
Yeah,
things
you
my dad
wouldn't.
would just do.
I didn't tell anybody, and he wasn't the type to tell anybody.
No.
Just did it. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm sure he
I'm,
did.
I'm sure
I
there
know
was
that I
somebody.
didn't do it or have to worry about it, so that meant a lot.
Yeah.
And we're finding these stories in each episode. It's just these are the best part of these episodes, I think, is
Yeah.
these stories that nobody knew, and
Yeah.
now we can share these things, and
Yeah, and it's really the quintessence of community. I mean, that's what it is.
Absolutely.
our
Yeah.
appreciation.
Yeah,
I agree.
So, do you want to tell us what did you do right after high school?
yeah.
So
So
right
right after Utah Power and Light, you're mowing lawns. You get off the lawnmower.
I was like, I'm out of here.
Start there.
When did Lance come into the picture?
Honestly, come in the picture for a while. So I went to Rick's
Right.
for 2 years, way back in the day when it was still Rick's.
Yeah.
And then in the summer, I went to BYU. And that's
Okay.
where Lance came into the picture, because that summer I started working at BYU as a telephone operator, like BYU operator.
Oh yeah, like if you call BYU and you
Yeah.
need like financial aid.
Way back in the old days, and say,
Yeah.
can you put me to the financial aid department? That's what I
Yeah.
did. But we went through training together.
Oh
And so
wow.
I look, he hates it when I tell a story, but we were in training
We'll
together.
edit this out. We'll edit this out.
No, it's okay, because I tell it to everybody. It just tells you that, just good things come to, I don't know. I don't know what the point is, but we were training together and he was sitting across from me. And I remember looking at him. He's like a computer guy, right? I remember looking across from him, and he would have this t-shirt on that had like a duck, not like an Oregon duck, or like a duck sitting on the beach with an umbrella over his head, just with his feet up, like
Relaxing.
thinking, yeah, he's kind of the computer nerd, right? And so that was my first impression. And I mean, we knew each other. And then so I went to summer, fall. We didn't really do anything. Summer, fall, and then I went on my mission. And I went to Okinawa, Japan.
Hmm.
And
Right.
then I came back and I went back to my same job. And I remember walking into the office, and he worked really closely with the boss, the manager, and she was like, "Hi, Kathy, how are you?" And I was like, "Oh, hi, Lance. You're still here." And this makes me feel kind of materialistic, but I remember he had on this nice, like, button-down shirt, and this. I'm like, "Oh,
Wow.
cleans up nicely," and I looked at his and I looked at his
That's
finger.
how I
He still
interpreted
wasn't
it.
married. And
Yeah. He's like, this guy can clean up.
yeah, he went up nicely. And then a couple weeks later, he actually asked me out, and
Okay.
then
Yeah.
that's what I was.
So that was the summer before you started BYU.
Mhm.
And so when did you end up getting married?
So, we got married in 94. So I came back from my mission in August of 93,
Oh, okay. That's right.
and
Yeah.
we got married in about June in 94.
Okay. Okay.
You just
Yeah, I mean, I thought I would come home and play the field a while. And actually, he remembers this at Christmas time. We ran into John Van Vliet, and I don't know if it's his wife now. I don't know if they were married then. I can't remember. Anyway, he had somebody with him, and we were up in Salt Lake. I think we were visiting Temple Square somewhere, and John was like, "Hey, Kelly, what you doing?" And he's like, "Who's this?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's Lance. We're just having fun." Like,
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
then he came back and he's like, "We're just having fun." I'm like, "I'm having fun. Aren't you having fun?" So that was his like, "Yeah, we're just having fun." That's kind of it. So
That's probably something you still say. We're just
are
having
we? I mean, I'm having fun. Yeah.
Well,
So
you've
that
had
was
30
kind of
years
fun.
of fun now.
Yeah,
So that's good.
different kind of fun. Been having fun for 30 years now.
Yeah, 30. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
okay. Then we moved to California. We're there for a few years, and then moved to the Northwest.
Okay. And then so you were there, you said, for 20 years in those areas, and in different places, or mostly in Vancouver?
we first moved to just they're both outside of Portland, but we were in Oregon, just west in Hillsboro.
Okay.
Because when we had moved, we moved kind of when my sister was really sick and we were ready to kind of settle down. And I was working in at Novell actually. And we were ready to settle down, start having kids, and we were looking for these houses in San Jose, California. And they were like these dives for $500,000.
Yeah.
And it was so depressing. And he was like, one time he's like, we don't have to stay here because we didn't have any family. And so we were like, oh, let's move to the Northwest. And so he got a job there. And but then his company is within San Jose said, well, they're manufacturing their microchips. He's like, we have an office up there.
Oh.
So he just transferred and and I actually worked at Nike on the Nike corporate.
No way. That's cool.
It was probably the coolest place you could ever work.
Yeah. My son loves that place.
Yeah.
He did some
What does he do?
class trips. He did some class trips there in high school. So they would always go to the Nike place.
Yeah. It was super cool. I was in delivery logistics. If I was going to be there for a career, I would go someplace else like R&D or,
Right.
But it was cool. It was a great experience. But then I started to have kids and like, it's time to be done. So
cool.
How did you decide to come back to Utah?
It was kind of time. We had 3 teenagers and my husband's company had gone through different revisions, had been bought out, and then he left and went someplace else. And the tools he was wanting to use as a software person, the company bought them out. We're using different ones and he didn't want to use those. And so it was connections, networking. And that's what we're telling our people. It's all our kids it's all networking who you know. So somebody here in Salt Lake, they were breaking off their business and he's like, we kind of would like to have you come. And it was just perfect timing. Like he needed a new job and it was perfect what he wanted to do. And we had 3 teenagers and we just felt like really, and this is what I say, it was time to come home. It was time to come home to bring our kids because we were in the Northwest and we love it. Most of it. I didn't love the rain. I mean, it's beautiful July, August, September, but I don't know. There's just things that we wanted to, and I wanted to be close to my family. He had a lot of family up there, but we didn't have any of mine. So it's been nice to be home.
And you've been back in Utah for how long again?
7. Like we moved August 1st, so almost exactly 7 years.
Okay, so now it's time, right, to tell us how we came to be a 4th grade teacher.
So when we moved in, I mean, you don't know anybody and you're just used to being busy and I didn't know anybody and I wasn't doing anything and I did all sorts of house projects. I'm like, I need something to do. So like about in January, I was taking like the carpool kids in front of my kids' school and they said a computer lab out on the readout, computer lab assistant needed. I'm like, God, I could do that, right? Like I could do that. So I went to interview and she's like, Kathy, I just interviewed for somebody and I'm going to give them a job. But let me tell you what I do have, because I graduated in psychology. That was my intention was always to become a school psychologist. But when we moved, I was just kind of done with school. And it's you need 3 more years. And
a lot of hours.
A lot of hours. And she saw that on my resume and she's like, but here's what I need. And she was actually the assistant principal at the school that my son is at and a separate. So she was assistant principal at 2 schools. And she's like, here's what we have here. And I really shouldn't say this, but here's what I have at this other school. It's a student that had some behavior issues and they needed an aid. And I knew I would be working with a school psychologist. And I was like, maybe now's a good time to test water. So I went and did that. And it was really rough, right? Working with the kid with
as it would be. Yeah.
Yeah. It was hard. And then the next year I just I was a 1st grade aide doing reading groups. And then the next year was just reading. But our school has a place called the Wellness Center. And it's kind of like a social emotional place where students that have like big emotions come to calm down to reset. You have
at an elementary school, you have a wellness center.
School.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
no, not Montana. I think they still call that the playground.
Yeah, as it should be. I mean, I don't know. I shouldn't say that because I loved
I
this
think
job.
it's awesome. Yeah, that
But
sounds cool.
and it was a full-time position. And so in order to kind of keep that as a full-time, I had to get my teaching certificate.
Okay.
So I'm like, oh, okay, I can do that. That's fine. Because in the back of my head, I always thought I needed to be marketable, right? Like I need to do, I mean, you can't, psychology is something, and I've kept jobs. Like at Novell, there was layoffs,
Yeah.
stayed because I had a degree. I mean, it felt kind
Yeah.
of funny to me, but that's all right. You can't really do anything with your psychology degree. So I'm like, okay, I can do that. But then just last year, we got a new principal. And she said, well, next year we're turning this position into a part-time position. And the fourth grade needs a teacher for part-time. And part of it, getting your teaching certificate, you need to work with like a group, right?
Oh yeah, like student
kids,
teaching,
student
kind of thing. Yeah.
And I'm like, "Ugh," it's kind of put out by that because I really love the wellness center and that's what I wanted to do. But I'm like, okay, fine. But at the same time, in the back of my head, I'm like, well, my job is literally going away. So I need something. And it turns out that I love fourth grade. And I don't know if like, okay, since I'm going to be, my job's going away, I need something. And she said, if you want to teach, you'll be on the first of our list, at the top of our list. I'm like, okay, put me there, right? Put me there. But nobody was leaving we have like 36 teachers in our school and
Wow.
nobody's leaving. So each grade level, we have about 5 or 6 teachers.
Yeah.
And it's a dual immersion actually school. So we have 2, a Chinese and English. So that's
Wow.
2.
That's awesome.
Anyway, and eventually, obviously somebody left and I put in my application, but there were 62 applicants for my job.
Wow.
So when I hear that there's a teacher shortage, like not, I'm like, what? Don't come to Utah, right?
Yeah, in other places there are.
Yeah, that's probably
you could get a job tomorrow in Texas, but
yeah. So
that's awesome.
Anyway, but I'm super, and it's great because I know the team because I worked with them all last year. I know they're excellent educators, and I don't know.
And you work pretty closely with the other
Yeah.
teachers of fourth grade then.
I do.
So you're like getting your room all ready and
I am. So when I was listening to Robert Pearson, I was in my room listening to him. Actually, and when I heard his voice, I was like, oh my gosh, Mr. Pearson. It totally that's what it sounded like.
Yeah.
This sounds like Mr. Pearson.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a deja vu. Like I didn't ever think I would be. Actually, one time my sister told me, she goes, I thought you'd become like an elementary school teacher. I just said, I don't have the patience for that. And I don't think I did back then.
Now we'll see.
I guess we'll see. Yeah.
My wife never dreamed that she would be a teacher, and she loves it. So you never know.
There's good and bad. I think I know a lot more than most people going in because I've been there for so long, right? But
that's fun.
Fourth grade is a good age. From my wife's experience, she says fourth graders are still eager to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Fifth graders, they're already done. They're already they're too cool for school, everybody says. But she loves the fourth grade because it's the best grade, she says.
I could see that. They know stuff, but they're not jerks yet. That's that's the sweet spot.
Right.
Actually, that's what somebody just told me. And at one point, like I was substituting a lot, and I'm like, 6th grade's the worst. And so somebody told me that 4th grade's a sweet, right? The sweet spot. You're lucky.
I think you'll like
awesome.
it.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. We're going to move to some favorite stuff. Tell us about food and beverage, favorite food, beverage.
I don't know what favorite food. When I heard that, I'm like, it just depends on my mood. I mean, I do like a good Cafe Rio steak salad. That's one of my favorites.
Oh, okay.
And I just do like pizza. I'm like, ooh, pizza and a good steak once in a while. And I don't know. We actually really like going out to Indian food because we lived in San Jose and my husband's had a lot of just interaction with Indian people, and we have a couple, just a family a couple doors down. We love Indian food. And I tell her, take me to your best Indian restaurant. I'm like, ooh, let's go here. And she's like, no, Kathy, that's not good. I'm like, okay, then.
They
like,
That's good.
They probably say that they make better food at home, right?
She
Yeah, they
does.
might.
And that's what she does all the day. I mean, she shops and she cooks.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite Indian dish?
Actually, I really do like curry. I like coconut curry,
Okay.
and butter chicken is really good. I like naan. Like a really good naan is so delicious.
Have you had Indian food, Quirky?
Yeah, here and there, not much though.
In Helena?
We don't have tons of Indian food in Montana.
Yeah.
Here in San Antonio, we have good Indian food. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, once in a while. Yeah, not much. I recognize butter chicken sounds really good because I like both of those things.
Yeah.
But it's really good.
The crazy thing about Indian food is you don't assume it, but it can be very spicy, even more spicy than Mexican food, depending on what part of India the people come from.
Here, when you go to a restaurant, they always ask you, do you want it like, the 3 different levels?
Right.
No spice, medium, or like burn your right.
Yeah.
So.
The point where it's maybe not food by some definitions.
Yeah, you're like crying. This is so
what about dessert?
Dessert. Cookies are my favorite.
What kind though?
I'll pass up pies and cakes and like all these fancy things. I'm a sucker for a good cookie all the time.
But
chocolate chip.
Chocolate chip. There you go.
So you go into the teacher's lounge there and you'll just walk past the sheet cake or whatever left over from the weekend, but
give me the chocolate
plate of chocolate chip cookies.
The leftover weekend chocolate cake, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Chocolate
I'm a simple
chip
type of a
cookie.
girl. I'm still like that simple.
All right.
She kind of skipped over a drink. What do you like?
I forgot about that. Yeah.
That's okay.
And your Cafe Rio salad.
I like Diet Coke with my Cafe Rio salad.
There you go.
And I actually drink a lot of Propel. Actually, I have Propel right here.
Oh, is that that's Nolan's drink, right?
No, you can't see mine.
Yeah, I can't see
Black cherry. Is that what you said? My favorite is black cherry.
I'm drinking black cherry.
I don't know why you would go anywhere else besides black cherry.
Give Me Grace, sponsored by Black Cherry.
Yeah. Let's see if we can make that happen.
Yeah.
Awesome.
What's your favorite Propel flavor?
Black cherry.
Yeah, it's the best, right?
Yeah. I mean, I do like grape for changing up a little bit, but
black cherry's good if you can find it. Well, good.
All right.
Give Me Grace, a podcast by Alan and Nolan, will return after these brief messages.
Nolan, have you ever heard my corn dog story?
Tell me all about it.
All right. So 26 years ago, we're living in Albany in this little apartment. Nicole is about 7 months along with our first child. And she has, throughout her entire pregnancy, been craving corn dogs. So she puts the last 2 corn dogs from the package in the oven, goes down to do something with the laundry in the basement. I come through. I either don't know they're the last ones or forget they're the last ones, probably the second thing. And I open up the oven and I eat both corn dogs. I just eat them. So she comes up, opens the oven, is horrified to find it empty. And she asks me what happened to her corn dogs. And I did something I'm not proud of, Noel. I lied to her.
Oh, boy.
I lied to her. And I said that they were burnt. And so I had to throw them in the outside garbage can, which was a really feeble lie if you think about it, because there's no whiff of smoke in the kitchen or anything, right?
Right.
She starts crying because I had eaten the last corn dogs and she didn't get her corn dogs that night. Now, I can't help but think 26 years later, as we are sitting here today doing today's podcast, that if the corn dog company food trucks had existed back then I could have run and gotten her a corn dog and wouldn't have had to lie to her.
That's right.
Just bad timing.
You can make up for it the next time you're in Idaho.
That's right.
And hit up one of these food trucks for the corn dog company.
Idaho locations include Burley, Eastern Idaho, Island Park, Magic Valley, and Pocatello. So we're gonna be heading through Pocatello on Friday and again Monday. It should be noted. So maybe one of those times we can grab a corn dog.
Well, there you go. Would you get her the mini or the epic?
Oh, she deserves an epic, right?
1/4 pound of beef foot-long hot dog,
I mean,
hand dipped in our freshly made cornbread style batter.
if that doesn't make up for a 26-year-old lie, I really don't know what does.
Well, maybe if that's not enough, you could get her a deep fried Milky Way or Snickers.
Yeah. It's not. What does that mean, deep fried? Have you ever had a deep fried dessert? I never have, I don't think.
I don't know if I have. I know a lot of the state fairs do like deep fried Oreos and stuff like that. I wouldn't be against trying it though.
Oh, it is a cornbread style batter. It's the same batter then.
Yeah, they put it in the same
and then
batter.
they drizzle with honey.
That's right.
Might be good. I don't know.
I'm not against trying it.
Thousands of county fair goers couldn't be wrong.
That's right. And with all the Utah locations, you know that they must be doing well because that's the place where honey comes from, right?
Yeah, the Beehive State, home of the honey dog, fits, works.
Yeah. I looked them up. There's a couple of places in Texas too. So Marcia and I are gonna definitely have to check them out. Omar's had them before. He said they were really good. And one of the other people from our class said that she goes to the one in Idaho Falls and
Okay,
delicious.
So you're going to Texas to watch BYU, or you're in Texas, but you're going to go watch them play SMU. Is that right?
That's right. We're gonna
And
watch
that's
them.
near Dallas, so you're going to be
There you go.
you're going to have two chances really, because you're going to drive through Austin too. So you're going to have two chances each way to get a corn dog if it works out.
Maybe we'll try each of the two different food trucks and see which one does the best job.
Just have yourselves a corn dog weekend.
If they're our sponsor, we might as well support them, and they're supporting us, so we'll thank them with our support.
Yep. Very excited for the Corn Dog Company to be part of the Gimme Grace podcast.
To be the exclusive sponsor of the Gimme Grace podcast.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So
it's awesome.
Now back to this episode of Giving Grace, a podcast by Alan and Nolan.
Very good. Okay, so let's talk music.
Okay.
What about back in the day? What did you listen to?
Back in the day, I think I listened to Journey and Foreigner. I liked Bon Jovi a lot, actually.
Slippery When Wet.
I mean, I didn't have a lot of music, but that's the only cassette tape. Like one of the few. I had that one and Tiffany.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
I had those two.
Yeah.
Think we're alone now.
Yeah. What a great song. That was such a great song. Still great. And I try and tell my kids, like, let's listen to it. And they're like,
yeah, it's a little too peppy for the cynics of today. I think it's pretty peppy. Yeah. Awesome. So what about now? Outside of trying to get your kids to listen to Tiffany, what do you got going?
So actually now I mostly listen to my kids' music.
Oh, okay.
Because I like listening to knowing what they listen to, and their music's pretty good actually. But I really do I like the Chainsmokers. I like One Republic.
Okay.
And I'm probably gonna get all sorts of people, but if it's just me in the car, if I'm just me, I'm gonna listen to Taylor Swift, and we're gonna sing.
You're gonna rock out to Taylor Swift a little bit.
I'm not rocking out. I'm gonna sing. She should pay me for being a backup singer because I know. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, our viewership just went up by 10,000 since you said that.
And that's true. Yeah, we got to get that
Either
bump.
because they want to say, Kathy, that's so dumb.
No.
Yeah.
So many people like Taylor Swift. So.
They have great. She has great songs you can sing along to, right?
Yeah.
So I'll tell you one on my wife. So she usually, if I'm watching football, NFL, she'll be like, "Oh, I guess football's on. I'll go do something else." But then all of a sudden she's like, "Hey, are you going to be watching football today? I think the Chiefs are playing." So all of a sudden now my wife's a Chiefs fan with about 10 million others. So.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt. I mean,
my daughter Grace is such a Taylor Swift fan that she started listening to the Kelsey podcast. And they have this segment called No Stupid Questions, which isn't true.
There's a lot of things have to be beeped out, right? Speaking of edit.
Yeah, there's that. but she was like asking stuff like, "What's a linebacker?" You know, things like that. It was really funny. I think she said they read one. Yeah.
That's funny. Do you remember what your parents liked for music?
My dad, on the way to school, because I would drive with my dad to school, he would listen to classical music. And I was
Okay.
like,
Just to get
oh,
ready.
Dad, you're putting us to sleep. It was awful. And we would just complain. And I don't know if he played that just to make us be quiet. Um,
Hmm.
My mom, she was kind of like me. I mean, she liked to listen to and it wasn't my music, like the boys. Like I remember, Lauren Scott listening to the Monkees and the Bee Gees and just
Okay.
that older classic.
70s rock.
Yeah. I mean,
disco more
I'm not
so,
sure she
right?
liked it. She did like classic music. She liked talk shows. I remember growing up with her listening to KSL radio. I think
Oh,
she just liked to
yeah.
be informed with what was going on in the world.
Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, I kind of get that. And a lot of times, actually, I turn the radio off. Like after the day, I don't want to hear
You just want to
favorite sound as
decompress.
a sound. Yeah.
So when you become a teacher, are you going to switch to classical now? on the
No, I
way?
slept to no sound. Like often when
Okay.
on the way to work, I listen to KSL. My commute's
Oh.
like 5 minutes, 10 minutes with
Oh, nice.
lights.
That's good.
But on the way home, I almost always turn it off. Like,
You just
Okay.
need that
yeah,
Just to decompress.
freedom for a few minutes, huh?
I do have to
Yeah.
decompress.
I have immense respect for your kids. This is our first Chainsmokers reference. It's a good band, underrated. Well done.
I love them. Actually, it's not my kids, but it's that. So my daughter and I, now I'm trying to remember who it was, right before COVID hit, it was Chainsmokers and it was some concert we went to, my daughter and I. I can see it was a boy band. Anyway, went to
Okay.
Chainsmokers and it was excellent. It was
They're
so
good.
And
Yeah,
then the
they're
world
good.
crashed down. It was like my last hurrah before.
Yeah. My daughter turned me on to the Chainsmokers around that time too, around
They're so good,
2018.
right?
Yeah.
They have some good stuff.
That was good stuff. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Very good. Let's see. Hobbies.
My hobbies. I always laugh when people ask me that. Like, oh, what do I do? Like
Be
for a
mindful.
long time, I mean, even now, I think my hobbies are watching my kids play sports, doing
Yeah.
their thing. That's kind
Yeah.
of what do I do on my spare time? I guess I don't know if spare time it's watching my kids do the thing because I mean, even though it's insane and busy, I mean, we look back now because both of those boys are gone. Like we wouldn't change anything because you get that time with them. I mean, there's this time you have, and that was kind of our following them around, watching them do their thing.
Okay.
But I do love reading. I love historical fiction.
Okay.
I sit down and
give me something good that you've been reading recently in historical fiction.
Well, recently, one of my favorite ones is that the Tattooists of Auschwitz.
Oh,
Have you read that one?
no.
And then there's
Tattooists, like
the tattooist, like the tattoo,
like the person who does tattoos
Mhm.
of
The people
Auschwitz.
of Auschwitz.
Wow, no way. Like they would like of the numbers.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
At the concentration camps.
the concentration. And I
Wow.
often get sucked into the ones of World War II, and I'm like, I gotta go find something different. But then I read, the Bible. I'm like, oh, I gotta read that one. That was so good.
Wow.
And they're heavy, right? They're
Yeah.
heavy. But I really like them. And that one's a series. So
Okay. And it's just one tattooist, not
There's-
multiple.
no, there's multiple, but
Okay, but the title is just singular.
tattooist. Yeah, it doesn't come roll off your tongue. Tattooist.
Yeah. Okay. That's
Yeah.
cool. My mom liked historical fiction. I've read some. I might check that out. That sounds
Yeah.
good. I don't get to read what I like to read since I'm a college professor, but
Well,
I
honestly,
tried
I
myself.
didn't start reading again until after I graduated. Like,
Yeah,
because you
Yeah.
just read all the time. Like, who wants to read it's not fun anymore, right?
right.
And it
Yeah.
wasn't.
You don't get to choose what you read for a while, for like
Yeah.
a stretch of 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hardly any of it's really great anyway. So
What did
Awesome.
you said for one of your hobbies, you like watching your kids play sports. What sports
yeah.
Great question.
did they play?
So soccer. My oldest son, that was his passion was soccer. So that was fun, quirky to hear you say that you coach soccer.
Yeah.
So actually, he played competitively for years. I mean, he was really great. He's just a great little athlete, but that was his thing. And so we went all over playing soccer. And then, but my other son, the ones that are really close, which is so it's kind of funny that my oldest son, it was this thin, skinny. He didn't grow until about his junior year.
Oh, are you
And
talking about me or your son?
yeah, probably. You kind of actually remind me of him.
It's like the gangly Nolan bod. Yeah.
It totally was him.
So he'll
And
fill out.
hey, we all grow up, and that's what he tells me now. George, he's like, Mom, I'm packing on the chubs. I've gained 50 pounds. I mean, he left at 120. He was like 5'11", 120
Like me.
pounds. Yeah, skinny.
Wow.
But so he played soccer and played basketball and like flag football. But my younger one, the younger of the two, my 19-year-old played basketball.
Oh, okay. Oh, nice.
All of my kids, we made them play all soccer because, anybody can play soccer. You might get on the ball. But
It's a great place to start. Yep.
it really is. And just get lots of energy. And but eventually he's like, Mom, my younger one, and he played football because he was, I mean, even when they were little, you would just grab their hands and this one would be this little teeny tiny hand, and this one would be like, I got me. And so one time he's just like, Mom, I hate soccer. I'm not. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. And so he just like, oh, I'm ready to play basketball. So he played basketball.
Is he tall?
He's 6'3".
Okay. Tall enough.
Tall enough.
Yeah.
But I mean, and I also like really resonated with what Robert Persman was saying. Like, we live in the Bingham boundaries.
Yeah.
And so their school, like, we have 2,500 kids in the high school with 3 grades. And it's crazy. And that's what I don't love that.
Yeah. That's tough.
Idaho. I tell my kids, I'm like, we should move to Idaho. And they're like, Mom, you don't like the cold. And I'm like, oh yeah, I don't really like the cold. So,
but you can play basketball on a competitive team, even if you're not very good.
Or you could be the manager if you've been.
I mean, and that's what I tell the kids. I said, you could do all these things. Like here, I played volleyball and basketball, and I was trying. You could do all these things. But then he's like, Mom, but then you don't get very good. I'm like, I think that's beside the point. I don't think that's the point. But he's like my type A. He's like, but I want to be. So he did, and he played on the Bingham team and played on competitive club teams, and
that's impressive.
Yeah, so that's what I guess plays soccer and basketball, and his older brothers are saying, which one you're going to pick, and he's like, I'm not going to pick, and that's what I tell him. I'm like, up until kind of this point, I feel like it's hard to fit it all in at this, and I've said, I'm not going to make my 10-year-old pick which sports he wants to play. I'm like, that's just stupid. Like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Some point.
So it's those two, soccer and basketball, like his older brothers.
And he really loves football, and he's my youngest. He's redhead, and he acts like a redhead, and he's like, boo. But he's actually a really good athlete, but he broke his arm. And he has this funky arm thing going on, and he would be really great at football. But he can't play football.
So what does acting like a redhead mean?
So I don't know. My niece sent me this meme that said, God gave me red hair because he knew I needed a warning label. I mean, he just has big emotions. He loves big, and he like plays big, and he gets angry big, and I don't know.
Okay.
Does that fit you, that definition?
I don't remember you being intense and angry on the court.
You don't think so? That's good.
I don't remember. I just don't remember.
And people have said that, like, I'm nice until I go play a sport or something.
Oh, okay.
Then I'm not.
Got that fire. Okay.
You're kind of competitive, in other words.
I kind of like to win. And still, I keep thinking I'm old enough that I shouldn't have to be this competitive. And like, I'm not competitive. And then
you are.
I'm competitive. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Let's go down to the then stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So we know that you went to Grace Elementary, right?
Yes.
The whole time?
Mm-hmm.
You said so you moved to Grace when you were right before kindergarten or after kindergarten?
Right before kindergarten. Yeah.
Okay.
Who was your 4th grade teacher? Was it Maxine?
Mrs. Wilker, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Upstairs. That room upstairs. Yeah.
That was the best part.
Yeah, that was the best part. We felt like we're almost in junior high somehow.
We were special up there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go and name them. First grade, who was your teacher?
So I had Mrs. Luthi,
Okay.
then
Oh, yeah.
Mrs. Ray,
Okay.
and
Oh,
Mrs.
Mrs.
Toon,
Right.
Mrs. Wilker, Mrs. Kingston, Mr. Lowe.
Okay. I think we were in the same class only 2 years.
Only 2 years?
Because
Oh.
I had
You
Mrs.
were Thatcher.
Clark, then Wilker, then Mr. Clark, and I was in Thatcher until third grade.
Okay. Well, and that's what when they were saying, I'm like, I don't even know who these Clark people are. But then I go, wait, maybe I do. Did he?
He was the custodian. He was the
Did he have-
custodian.
Kind of a saunter? Did he kind of like
A saunter. I like
Shuffle.
that.
Or something?
That sounds familiar.
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
feel kind of
And
like
Mrs.
something in the
Mrs.
back-
Clark was really short. I had her
Yeah.
for third grade, and we were almost as tall as her.
and had dark hair. Did she
Yeah,
have
dark hair, curly, short hair. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably.
Let's
They
see.
lived right on that road heading out to your place, like a block and a half from my house.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I've got a couple of questions.
Okay.
Because I went to Thatcher. I didn't know much about Grace, but I do want to know, was Corey in your class when Mrs. Kingston was your teacher?
Corey? I think he was
Yeah,
because
he was.
the only reason I remember Corey, I remember him being outside, like out getting kicked out of class and being outside, like on the desk outside the classroom door, like a few times.
Or his mom kicked him out of her class?
Yeah, we had Mr. Clark right next door to Mrs. Kingston there, right between Mrs. Kingston and Mr. Lowe was Mr. Clark's class.
Yeah.
So,
And to his defense, I mean, I remember growing up always hearing this, though, the art class was just big. And so, now I see that. I think we always had like 30 kids or something for a long time.
Yeah, we had a lot of kids in our classes. How many kids are going to be in your class?
Right now I have 26.
It's middling to big.
Yeah.
yeah.
I would like 20, but it's better
That's
than
pretty
30.
big.
So,
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah, I know
big
what you
class.
mean.
yeah.
So
It's
my-
actually typical. It's last year they
Yeah.
had 28. So
Yeah.
My other question about Grace Elementary, because it's a mystery to me, what was the vibe of Grace Elementary? Because Thatcher definitely had a vibe. What was Grace's vibe?
I don't know. Did it have a vibe? I don't think
I
there
don't
was
know.
any vibe. I think we
Yeah.
were,
That was our vibe, is just no vibe.
No
Oh my
vibe.
God.
Okay.
it was just Grace, right? I don't know. What was Thatcher's vibe though?
It was wild.
Yeah, it was the Wild West out there. I remember hearing, because especially sixth grade was really when, because I couldn't go down to Thatcher and kind of want to stay in Grace anyway. But then Dave Shaw lived in town and he would come home with these stories. It just felt like this other world.
Yeah.
You're
It
like,
was
what are
like
we
I was the little mermaid and he was on the surface at Thatcher having so much fun of things I didn't understand.
Yeah. I wanted to ask because Corky was pointing out that most of the interviews so far were people from Thatcher Elementary.
Yeah, we've been having on Thatcher. So it's nice to have another Grace
Grace
elementary person.
Oh, Grace. Yeah. I don't know. We were boring, I guess.
I guess so. Yeah. Yeah.
Big school, you just had to kind of meld in, right? You had so many students, like
Actually, so we
Yeah.
did.
Yeah,
just
it
need to
was
find your
such a
place.
metropolis.
find your place in fifth grade. Who was your favorite middle school teacher? I see middle school, junior high. I don't know. I've got to get over that. We went
Yeah,
to
that's
Grace
I know
Junior.
what you mean.
Junior high. Yeah, you're right.
I don't know. You know what? When I think about middle school, they're all, Miss Lloyd, of course, is the
Mhm.
ones that comes to mind. But then Mr. Wilker, I have a story with him. I mean, I got in trouble with
There-
him because my grade was too low. And so I had to have this one-on-one with my dad to like tell him all I can't remember what it was. I was talking to, that's what I was asking him. Like, I was talking to Shelley Dexter and chatting. Imagine I was talking too much and I had a C in his class and yeah,
Wow.
he pulled on me. So I had to have this, I was grounded until I got my grade up and
Right.
so that's Mr. Wilker. But then, I remember Mr. Washburn and at some point in somebody's class over on that end, right? You know how there's that L shape.
Yep.
At that end, I was like, on the end of a paddle at one point. I don't remember if it was Mr. Wolf
Oh,
or Mr. Pearson,
Mr.
wow.
Keele had a pedal too.
and I don't even remember why.
And Mr. Perkins was over there on that end too, but I don't remember if he had a paddle. Do you remember Mr. Perkins?
I don't
Am I
remember.
making him up?
I
No,
don't.
No, because Scott remembers him.
God remembers him. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't
Mr.
think I had
Perkins.
Mr. Perkins.
I didn't have him either, so that's
Okay.
why I was curious.
So I was going to say, and then at some point, I had Susan, right, my sister-in-law, but that may
I
have
was
been.
going to ask, yeah,
Yeah.
if that was weird to have your sister-in-law as a teacher.
Well, I just remember everybody saying that's why you get good grades because she's your relative. Getting good grades because you do good in class, or,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Tell us what being grounded in junior high entailed. What were you grounded
Oh,
from?
Yeah,
well,
that's a
and
good
it's funny
question.
because I live so far out. I felt like I never did anything with anybody anyway. Like, I mean, there was no phones, no extra anything. I mean, and I couldn't even use the phone anyway. So I don't even, I'm like, what does that mean, Dad? I couldn't go hang out with friends because I never did that. Anyway,
Yeah.
but the thing is, when he sat me down and said, I want you to know, it was like geometry or something, but I knew all the answers. So I was like,
Oh, okay.
show you. So
Is that better or worse though, that your grade was low and you knew all the answers? I feel like that would make it worse.
maybe I just didn't test well.
Didn't apply yourself. That's what
Yeah.
my excuse was normally. I didn't apply myself.
Yeah.
But I had to get it. So yeah.
How about your favorite high school teacher?
You know, I'm not sure I had a favorite. I feel like every single teacher I have memories. I have ones that I didn't particularly like, but this is one I haven't heard, like Mrs. Gummersall.
Mhm.
I feel like she made you feel like you were somebody important. And maybe that was just me. Like, I think she was my junior teacher. And I remember that's where we did Shakespeare or something.
Maybe I
don't know.
think so. Hamlet, right?
Maybe we did Hamlet. That was my
Yeah,
first
Hamlet.
like exposure to that. And I was just like, okay, I don't love it, but I don't hate it. And I don't know. Mr. White, I mean, I just feel like every teacher was, and of course, I don't know. I don't know if you want to hear the story now, but Corey and I got kicked out of honors English class the first day of class.
Who was the teacher? Was it
Mrs.
Thursby?
Thursby, yeah.
Okay.
And now I look back and I'm like,
so hi, Mrs. Thursby.
and now I'm like, wow, she was really good. She set a really good precedent. And the funny thing was that was the first year where Mrs. Harris was the principal. Do you remember that? That was where
Yep.
she was the principal.
Yep.
And so she had to come up and Corey and I were like, my gosh, we are dead. And I think I threw Corey on the bus and I was like, but he was making me laugh. And Mrs. Harris, like, in her face, then don't laugh. Okay, you got it. But no, I mean, I did love her class. I love that class. And I don't know, I just feel like there were just so many good teachers that really made us feel important or that were really invested in us, being our best selves.
And that's why we wanted to honor teachers too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so many great teachers. I mean, and coaches. I mean, and I feel like that was just a big part of my high school. Like,
Yeah.
That's
You
a good
played all
point.
the sports. Yeah.
Yeah, tell us maybe who was some of your favorite. I mean, we talk about teachers, but for all of you that played sports, I think we should
Yeah.
well,
Coaches too.
coaches into that as
well,
well.
Shelly's dad, like,
Yeah. Keith.
he was our basketball coach, and Joe Elsmore was the assistant, and they were just, in it, not for the money, right? They were,
Yeah. You couldn't be because there wasn't any. Yeah.
because there's
They
no
just
money.
did it.
Still there's no money. Just, to give us the experience and I don't know.
You haven't seen.
Go ahead.
You haven't seen Shelley's episode, but she talked about going to state. And I told her I didn't have anything to do with the girls basketball team, but it was fun to go on your games and then go to state. It was a big party at the Holiday Inn. So tell us about your experience going to state. With the basketball team.
So I have a few memories of going to state, but that was my junior year and I didn't hardly play at all.
That's okay.
The only thing I remember about the games were my job. I got put in one time and I was supposed to go set a pick, and I set a pick, and this girl like bounced off of me. And I remember the crowd going, "Ooh," and I said,
Whoa.
that's the only thing I remember. And I remember us losing. I remember us losing and how sad we all were because of all the time, that we'd put in, and the bus ride home was excruciating. It was just the longest, I mean, literally long, but just felt like forever.
So maybe your trip to Boise wasn't as fun as my trip then.
Yeah,
Probably not.
that's right.
Probably not.
We didn't have to worry about the loss as much.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that's some of the sports. I mean, my favorite, I don't know, can I tell you this? Am I jumping in?
No, go for it.
I think one of my favorite sports memories is it was our senior year. It was our last basketball game of the season, and we were in Bancroft. And that was the year these girls were supposed to be like take state. Because they had these three really big, tall girls. And the game before that, do you remember Amy Larson? She was like the center. She'd been having problems. She'd like popped her shoulder out, but the game before that, she popped her shoulder out. And I remember being there and seeing that, like, no. And so then I became like the big in the middle, and Shelly was like the four, and we beat them. And we weren't supposed to. I think that's one of my highlights of playing basketball is that. And then that night, we went back to Bancroft to the dance there, and my dad was like,
ooh, going on their turf, huh?
Yeah.
I really kind of still can't believe we did that. I'm like,
just walk in like you own the place.
Rubbing it in a little bit, huh?
Yeah.
A little salt in the wound there.
That's awesome.
I don't know. I don't think that was our intent, but it probably felt like that.
I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you remember who the starting five was for your basketball team your senior year?
So me, Shelly, and Rochelle.
Okay.
Amy Larson, because she was the center. And I think Trudy.
No, Trudy Smith.
Yeah, Trudy Smith.
Yeah. Amy Larson would be a junior?
Yeah, so she and Trudy would have been juniors. And I'm pretty sure, and I feel bad if that's not.
No, that's why I said I'm putting you on the spot.
But I'm pretty sure that's who it was.
We'll double check.
Because the year before that, I mean, we had like Millie and
Wendy
Nikki and Wendy. Yeah, I mean, and Heather. I mean, they were just a great team.
Yeah, it was a really good team.
And I'm like trying to get into even in the small town, trying to get in anytime, play anytime.
What about volleyball?
Yeah, volleyball, we were awful. I don't think we won any games.
Senior year was tough. Volleyball, I remember. It was a tough volleyball season. And really, it was just really you three, Rochelle, Shelley, and you, seniors. Yeah. There was really weren't many senior girls who played sports.
And we were, I mean, Amy Larson again, I was tall. I mean, I remember looking into the net with these big girls from Preston that were 6'2" and 6 foot. I'm like, looking in your armpits. This is not But like after high school, that's what I played the most is volleyball because
it's fun.
I played on teams with my husband and did that.
Yeah, it's fun to play co-ed volleyball. Mm-hmm. What is something from your high school days that you think about often?
Well, and that's what I was thinking that there's so many good experiences. Like I just remember so many being with friends and like the growing experiences. And I do think about sometimes, I wish I would have done, I wish I wouldn't have done this, or I wish I would have done this better. Maybe I should have said this.
Shouldn't have laughed when Corey made a joke in class.
Yeah, I should not. And actually, to Corey's credit, I remember him telling me he was sorry. And I was like, I'm sorry. I mean, I was right there. It was me too. And anyway, I just think that we grew up in a really special, and that's why I told my kids, maybe we should move to Idaho because I see what they don't have, and they don't know what I think they're missing out on, but they get something, they get something else. But I don't know.
I remember one of my memories with you is you would let me drive your dad's Subaru around town. Well, you and I and Ginger would ride around. I don't know where we were going. We'd just probably drive around town.
we didn't have to go anywhere. There was no place to go, right? So
I thought that was a cool car, and then I got to
that's
drive.
funny that you remember
do.
the Subaru because
I do.
yeah, that Subaru died on me one day, and then it was that night where I buried my Jeep into the snowbank right by Mike Holtz's house after dance, and it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I had to walk to his house and knock on the door and say, and I was praying he would answer, and it was Mom, and I was like, I just buried my Jeep in the snowbank. So I called my dad, but he was like, Kathy, you have the only running car, and you buried it in the snowbank.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dad. So Mike had to drive me out to my house at 1 o'clock in the morning and came back. And the reason why anyway, there's a whole big story to it, but
We
I
got
was late for curfew, and I didn't want to like clean off the windshield.
Oh,
It was snowing, and I was like, it'll be okay. And I knew it was slippery, and I didn't want to overcorrect, but you see my trucks going slowly right into the snowbank.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
in a way, I was glad that I hit the snowbank instead of
That's true. Could have been worse with the
Like,
canyon out that way.
that would have been.
Yeah.
So anyway,
And now's your opportunity to get others in trouble. Tell us about a story involving other people from our
I
car.
already did. I already got Corey in trouble. So
Okay.
But
You're
you
gonna
gotta have
count that
more
one?
story. That was the only
Actually-
trouble that you ever got somebody in? You gotta have more stories than that.
okay, Halloween, Shelly and I and some
Halloween, that's what we knew was
I
coming.
know. We were in Bancroft, and we were like, Shelly was driving, and she was running into like people's garbage cans. She
Yeah.
was knocking garbage cans over, and I guess the police called, and we're like, Shelly, get out of here. We gotta go home. And so I don't remember. That's all I remember.
Did you
Going-
evade the police? They did never find
They
you?
never caught us.
What
What
was
were you
that senior
driving?
year? Was that
I
senior
think
year?
that was our junior year because I remember
Okay.
senior year, and I don't remember what we were doing. I don't think we were really being bad, but I think we were guilty by association with all the other things that were going on. Like I know there was egging going on. I think we had toilet paper, and I think there were police not happy with all
And this
of
was
it.
senior
That was
year,
the senior year.
Halloween. I remember somebody was in a minivan and you were there. Do you remember the cattle truck that was spraying water on everybody? Do you remember that?
I think I remember running away from it.
Yeah.
Like, we were on foot. I don't remember the minivan. I just
okay.
remember running a lot, and maybe I was
Okay. Okay.
but I remember running and hiding in bushes. We
So
don't-
you were in Bancroft on Halloween?
That's
I think
junior
that was in
year.
our junior year. I think that's our junior
So
year.
someone mentioned that was it Corky that said Corey Kingston hurt his arm or something on Halloween?
Yeah, but that was senior year, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure where.
I know
I'm
things. start
trying to
changing.
get I've got a board at home of everybody's whereabouts on
Piecing it.
Halloween senior year. I'm trying to piece it together.
Yeah,
What were you driving while you were hitting garbage
it was
cans?
Shelley's car. I don't remember. She just had a really big car.
Perfect for hitting garbage cans.
Where it was perfect, and it would just knock them over, and then somebody called the cops.
Okay.
We
How
had,
did you know? Did you see the cop coming?
I don't even remember. I don't
Okay.
remember how. I think somebody had told us that
Oh,
there were
okay.
kids out, right? And they were like,
Oh, okay.
looking for
Yeah.
you. And I don't know if they were just saying that just to get us out of
Get
town.
you out of
I mean,
town.
we were
Yeah.
knocking over garbage cans, so
Yeah. Okay.
we don't. And I tell my kids this, and they're like, "Why were you knocking over garbage cans?" There's
Well,
nothing else to do. and
Because it
that's-
was Halloween. Yeah.
we didn't
There
have
was-
anything to do, right? So
Is it
There
safe to say that Bancroft brings out the worst in Kathy?
there were maybe there were good
Maybe.
times, and there were some bad times. So let's just say that.
So there was a time, I think my first experience in soda, probably hanging out with Rob Pearson, and we went with somebody, and they were knocking down garbage cans with their car.
Because
And
there's
was a
nothing else
thing.
to do.
it became a thing to do. Like
I don't remember ever doing that.
my parents had a big old brown Pontiac Bonneville, and then you could knock down garbage cans pretty well with that car.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm filled with regret because my parents had a Chevy Impala, which would have been perfect, and I didn't ever knock down a garbage can with it. What a
I know.
waste!
And I
Was it
can't remember
green?
what kind of car Ginger had, but remember we would pile all sorts of people, as many as we could, come get in Ginger's car, right? And we would drive around and
Yeah.
That was the best.
And so then to tighten up the end of this story, I tried it in my little black pickup truck, and that didn't do very well. If the garbage can was full of stuff, my little truck would lose those battles. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
yeah.
So I think we know where you were when Napoleon Dynamite came out, but what do you remember about that time 20 years ago?
Actually, I don't know where I was, and I have never seen it.
What?
I have.
Oh, wow.
I think I've tried. I don't remember. I
I've
think I
tried.
tried, and I think I fell asleep.
Yeah.
Wow. See,
And
my theory has been that the people who lived close to Grace
I heard you say
thought
that.
it was no deal, but the people who lived out and about, but you're an outlier now.
I'm
So
like
I don't
the
know.
anti.
Nah, I don't know what to make of it.
I'm
I
stealing your.
gotta figure something out.
Yeah.
That's my other bulletin board. Is
And it's funny because when I tell people that I live now, they're like, "Oh, Napoleon!" They're all like excited. I'm like,
yeah.
I don't know what you're talking
And you
about.
just and they're like, she acts so cool about it.
They're like, "What?"
She acts like she doesn't even care.
I should. I keep thinking that, like I should. Even my kids are like, "Have you seen Napoleon?" You know, because there's quote like people.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Like,
Yeah.
there's these quotes that have come from that. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, and
Okay.
I know
So-
I should. Maybe I should try it again.
Yeah. With your kids.
Yeah. And you can show, I mean, because it's Preston and it
But it is
really feels
boring.
like
You have to
Preston.
admit, like at the beginning, it's just. I know I've tried a couple times.
It moves slowly at the
Yeah.
beginning.
Does
I
it speed up
suppose.
if I start in the middle? Can we like?
But here's the thing.
But then
okay,
you'll miss essential elements of the plot.
Okay.
is Preston an exciting town? Would you expect that Preston would be a
No.
thriller?
No.
Yeah. It would be odd if the movie weren't boring. Yeah.
Right.
All right. How
Okay.
about Bluebell or Turner's Cafe?
Bluebell.
Bluebell.
And
What?
I didn't stay there a lot. Really, my dad was against kids.
He was anti-Bluebell,
Yeah, loitering because you knew what happened.
anti-loitering.
Yeah.
It's like
Like I don't want you hanging out with those kids at the Blue.
hanging out at the Bluebell is such a Red Devils thing that we're just not going to do that.
Yeah, and he knows kids that just hang out and they have time on their hands are usually kids that get in trouble.
It's true.
And really, that was his thing. And so he's
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
You
What do
didn't
they
want me
say
driving
that
me,
time is the Red Devils' plaything or something like that?
right? He was against all that.
Idleness, something like that.
And he's
Yeah,
like,
that's right.
I
Yeah,
don't want
idleness.
you to be playing no pool and playing those video games over there.
Yeah, because you don't know what's gonna happen. Something might jump
Mhm.
up. Yeah,
You probably saved a lot of money too.
Yeah.
I didn't have any money, so
There you go.
And time.
When you did go to the Bluebell that one time, well, what did you eat at the Bluebell?
probably fries.
There you go.
I
Yeah.
like the fries. Yeah, like the fries. I remember not really knowing what English chips were and not wanting to ask anybody because I would feel stupid. I don't know why I just didn't hang out near the counter and look to see what they were.
Like,
But
oh wait,
I
because
just got the
those
fries.
are the things you have to learn. Those are street smarts. In our house, we talk about book smarts and street
That's
smarts.
right. I have very little street smarts. Yeah.
On
You
the
can't have
Bluebell,
Well,
you can-
as your dad could tell you based on my time at the fish farm.
You know what? He didn't say anything. I
No,
don't.
that's fair.
He didn't
That's
say anything bad.
that's
So
very kind of him.
you were probably harder on yourself than he was. So
Yeah. Well, that could be true.
probably.
All right. How about Soda or Preston?
I like
I
Bancroft
didn't
for her.
really.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't
we got to
spend very
add
much
one.
time. Yeah, because there's a whole bunch of things to do in Bancroft too. Knocking over garbage cans. Probably soda. Just because I went to the doctor there, we went grocery shopping there. Like I didn't spend time as a teenager. I mean, I really didn't. My dad just, my
Hmm.
parents just didn't think it was not good places to go.
Oh,
Not that
okay.
they were bad, but just
Yeah. They had you occupied with things around
fish. It was
the house.
eating fish. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you clean the fish? Did you clean
Yeah.
a lot of fish? You
Yeah,
did, right?
I mean, that's one of my worst. I mean, I say worst, but like there was a couple times when a whole bunch of fish died, like because the water got plugged up.
Yeah, there was when I was out there too. Well,
Hey,
maybe
like
you were
a
out
day.
there cleaning them with me. I don't know.
Just cleaning fish, and
Yeah.
your fingers were numb and they were bleeding because you just been. Anyway, yeah.
I remember your dad. We were cleaning fish after that happened, and I was cleaning fish, and your dad starts laughing at me, and I can't remember who else was there. And everybody else is just like cleaning fish and their, hands are a little bloody. And I had blood everywhere. It looked like I was like some kind of fish serial killer or something. Like I was bathing in fish guts. Yeah. He's like, you really get into your work there.
Yeah. You're thorough.
Yeah. All right. Pocatello or Logan? Maybe that's the same answer. Neither. I don't know.
I mean, I like Logan better, and I think, we did more activities there, but Pocatello was closer. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, well, but you probably started out toward Pocatello a bunch of times and just detoured at Bancroft.
Like, what is there anyway?
Oh, yeah. What can I do there that's
I'm going
can't
to
do at
Poke.
Bancroft?
Right? Maybe I was looking for Poke and took the wrong turn. Right?
You took a left turn in Chubbuck.
Chubbuck. Yeah.
Kathy, look at that picture back there on your prom dress. Do you remember who your prom date was? Or we can't say. You don't remember?
Is this my junior year? Is that bad that I can't remember?
That's junior prom.
I think
April of '88.
I think it was Jason.
Jason Cladis?
Yeah.
Did y'all go to Pocatello?
I don't remember.
You don't remember the date much?
I think one time we went to Logan.
Oh, okay.
And now I have to go back and look, and I'm trying to think of, and I feel bad if it's not. I'm sorry.
I put you on the spot.
I have a bad memory.
That's okay. You remember?
No, I don't think that's necessarily bad. I think
I remember fish guts because that was a bad, and that's what I remember. Like, I remember the bad things. I remember getting in trouble, but I don't remember, I remember feeling happy and great in grades, but I don't remember specifics, right?
So, did you have to help decorate those balloons?
Yeah.
That's why
I think my junior year, I was in the
committee thing.
Yeah, whatever they call it. And so, yeah, I remember putting up
council or something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like the class leadership or something.
Yeah, I can't remember what we call it back then, but
you spent hours and hours and hours.
Yeah.
That's a lot of balloons. There's a bunch back there.
We spent a lot, and all of us, and I don't even remember who. I remember a few people, but I remember we spent a lot of time decorating.
I wish that picture was a little clearer, but Corky and I were talking about before you came on. Look how sharp Jared Rasmussen looked in that white tux.
Yeah.
Is that him? I was wondering. Jared. I'm like, is that? At first, I was like, is that Brandon? But yeah, I can see that now.
We're pretty sure that's Jared Rasmussen.
Yeah.
Looking sharp. Most everyone else had a black tux, but he was a trendsetter with that white tux.
He's looking sharp.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, Noel, your questions.
Now, this is interesting because we're going to ask you what's something we might not know about you, but I've learned like 3 things already.
2 things. Yeah.
Can you think of anything else that we don't know about you? That
I was going to say, I don't know how to fish.
Oh, that's awesome.
I can stick like a worm on a hook and drop it in, but I don't know anything about any strategies. Like, why do I put I have all these kids. I'm like, I don't know how you take a net and you dip it in. And
so you grew up on a fish farm, but you don't know how to fish. That's really interesting.
And I remember when I was younger, always asking somebody to take me fishing. And I was younger.
There's fish everywhere.
Yeah.
But it also makes perfect sense though, because they were just like, you had a captive audience there. They were like in the runs. Yeah. You're like, yeah, there's like, look, there's 400 fish. Why would I go out to the river and try to catch one? There's 400 sitting right there.
Right.
Yeah. So that makes sense to me.
I'm like the worst. My kid, luckily my son just went on the church camp out and he had leaders that learn how to fish and he was like, oh my God. I'm like,
no,
that's for good people that can teach you things that I fail. I'm a delinquent.
Now you can allow your son to teach you something and he'll feel really good.
That's right. Yeah.
Maybe.
When was the last time you were in Grace?
I was there over Memorial Day, actually. Okay. So my husband was out of town and my son and I we stayed with Susan.
Mm-hmm.
And because we're never there for Memorial Day, and I know their family does the graves, and it was just nice.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I visited my brother, my sister, my mom and dad.
And that's great that you still have family there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is. That's cool.
It is. But we usually would go to Soda when my dad was still alive. I'd go to Soda and stay with my dad, right? In Soda. And So it was really nice to be in Grace. I mean, it's funny because I tell people that I'm from Grace, and it's really surprising that how many people know where Grace is.
Yeah.
Actually, just a couple days ago, I was telling somebody here, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I get potatoes from the Johnsons," and I was like, "Oh, you mean Nick?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "How do you know?" I'm like, "Yeah, we know everybody," and it was just, and I went to church there, and you just see people, and they give you hugs, and they're like, "Welcome home," and
Yeah.
and I guess that's just part of another question about, that's one of the best things about Grace.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. So did you
full
catch
heart.
Kirsten at Memorial Day? Was she in town?
I didn't see Kirsten.
Oh, okay.
No, I didn't. We went to Chesterfield on like the next day because they have their big thing, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't realize they were having a big thing. So I did. There's my dog. You want to see
Oh,
him?
okay.
Yes.
And I'd be like, "Why
Yeah.
are you?"
Oh, look at that.
Oh.
Oh, look at that dog.
Ah, he's
Yeah,
like, "Why are you?"
my wife Nicole would love that, to have that
Yeah.
dog.
Yeah.
So
All right.
maybe you kind of already touched on this, but with the passage of time, what does growing up in Grace mean to you?
Yeah, and I think I have touched on it, but I just feel like it's a place it's hard to replicate the feelings that, that I have now for this town that where I was raised, and people I knew, people, like, it felt like, maybe not, that everybody had a vested interest in each other, right? Like
Mhm.
the adults were raising all the kids, right? It wasn't just your kids, and everybody cared about that. And when I go back, I still, like I said, when you go back and people are like, "Kathy, welcome home. It's so good to see you." And you just, I don't think you get that anywhere else, right? I don't,
Yeah.
at least with not the rate, the
Yeah. Yeah, it
people.
might happen in like a church congregation, right? But
Yeah.
not the whole town. Yeah.
And my kids think it's so funny when I like walk in, even now you walk into the grocery store and people know you, right? They're like, "Hey," and you could strike up a conversation with anybody and you wave to people. It's just it's just a special place.
When we started this, we didn't really realize it, but so many of you had parents who were involved in the school district, or, like Crystal Beckstead's parents weren't teachers, but my goodness, we spent a lot of time there. And
Yeah, we did.
I was telling my wife, can you imagine how much food they cooked for us? But
Well, I know the lunch ladies, that's what they call it, right? The lunch ladies
Yeah.
peanut butter bars. They're iconic, right?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Is there something from your time growing up that you would do differently? And you kind of mentioned that a little bit already, but
You scrape your windshield, probably.
Yeah.
how do you feel you've changed from high school times? Or have you changed?
Yeah, obviously I've changed a lot. I thought Kirsten, I love listening to Kirsten, and I thought her response, I remember to this, is she's just not as naive. I think we come out of Grace
Mhm.
very sheltered, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. But I think we learn a lot, and it's not, there's some good things about that and some bad things, but I just realized that there's just good, like everywhere you go, right? There's good people, and you have good experiences along with the bad,
Yeah.
and you can find the good people where you go. You find your village where you are, and
Yeah.
I think growing up, I didn't think that. I thought I would gonna live in Grace, and I'm gonna marry somebody from Grace, and I'm gonna stay because it's a great place, and it is. But um, you just expand, and I just think that comes with growing up.
Yeah.
And I try and tell kids and students that it's okay to fail. I felt like I didn't really. I was a little too worried about, I don't know, just failing, about not being the best or succeeding, being successful or failing, and that's part of
Maybe
life.
that comes from like you said, you're a little competitive. So even with schoolwork and sports, you didn't want to fail. You had a fear of failure.
And I think that just comes with life, like learning that, like, hey, you know what, it's brutal and hard, but there's a lot of growth that comes from that.
Yeah. A lot of great athletes or great people have that same instinct to like be perfect or be really good at everything. But on the other hand, sometimes falling down is where you really learn the lessons.
Yeah.
And I don't want to have this feeling again. So let me do better in the future. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
guess
that's the rub of parenting is you want your kid's life to be easy, but you also know that there's a lot of character that gets shaped in hard things. So
Mhm.
that
That's exactly what I
balance,
was thinking. It's hard as a parent to watch, and you're like, oh, I don't want you to
yeah,
do this because I'm afraid you're gonna fail. But oh, why do
yeah,
I
yeah,
should let them do it because even if they fail, it's hard, right? It's like
yeah.
so.
You gotta walk the line. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. I have a memory of you, Kathy. Um,
Okay, here we
on
go.
our
Is it me getting kicked
graduation.
out of class? Yeah.
No, I don't remember anything that happened in class during high school. There are all these stories. I don't remember anything,
That's
which
what I
is
mean.
But he
actually part of
remembers.
the story I'm going to tell.
He
Okay.
What
remember. He remembers sports stuff.
I remember the score of most of the games I played,
Yes, it's
the
amazing.
final
Oh,
score of
that's
most of the
awesome.
games I played,
Yeah.
and I remember my stats
Yeah.
for a lot of them. But I
Great.
don't remember stuff that happened in school because that's just where my head was, right? And so the
That's what's
story is,
important, right? I think that's what was important to you, right? School is
yeah,
just
exactly.
a means to an end. School. I go
Yeah.
to school so I can play sports.
Yeah, right. And I think that's what it was in high school, but you helped me switch that. It was you actually, because on graduation night, we graduated, and you were one of the people who had like the honor cords, right, for high GPA, and I didn't. I didn't have any cords. And I remember we had a really short conversation, but a meaningful one. Right after graduation, something came up about the cords. And I think I said nice cords or something, and you said you could have these too. You know that you could have these too. And I took that with me to college.
Hmm.
I did. And I ended up with, I think, maybe cords at the end of college. But that was, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
that was part of, and I switched that, and it wasn't a slow transition from being an underwhelming high school student to be a good college student. It was immediate, and you were a big part of that for me. So thank you.
Thanks for sharing. I don't remember that, but and I can see me like thinking that because I remember that, like, you just needed to.
Yeah, spend less time at the Blue Bell.
It could be
You were hanging out
dragon
with
or
those.
shooting the plume, all those things that I wasn't supposed
Yeah,
to do.
yeah, exactly. It's like,
Oh,
The funny thing is with that was that it was my dad that said, because my sister was valedictorian, and he said, no, I told him, I said, I'm not going to get straight A's. And he said, no C's. And I said, okay, deal.
oh, okay.
And maybe that was why, because my
That's a
dad,
strong compromise. And you ended up with mostly A's to have honor cords. So
I had
yeah.
most A's.
So he was clever. He got you.
Yeah. And I had to say that when I think about that, about Mr. Shaw. I mean, how great was Mr. Shaw? Like,
Mr. Shaw was awesome.
he was so awesome.
Yeah.
And I think he was one of those ones that always your cheerleader, like,
Yeah.
even though we were stupid and like, he was
Can
always
you
like,
imagine teaching choir and band and grace? It had to be so
insane,
frustrating.
insane.
Oh
No.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Talk
don't know.
about a guy
I
who
feel
needed
like I don't
classical
want to,
music.
yeah. I don't want to say every teacher because I feel like every teacher's like that, but
Yeah.
I feel like I have to shout out Mr. Shaw, like,
Yeah.
Mr. Shaw would call the drummers the dummers.
yeah. At one time, he pulled me out at a Christmas concert and said, "You beat the bass drum," and I'm playing the clarinet, and that's one of my good memories. I was right next to Lance Cannon, so when he passed away, that's what all these memories came back. Like Lance and I sat next to each other and have these and we'd laugh, and when we get in trouble, we'd like snicker at each other. But anyway,
Did you ever get tapped on the head with a baton?
maybe
So
because
when you,
Ginger was on the other side of me, so Lance is over here and Ginger was over here. I probably got at one point probably got tapped on the head, or
yeah,
at least I know I had dirty looks. Like,
you said one thing that stirred a memory for me. You talked about the flume, but for me, that triggered the memory of 23. You went to 23 a few times, right?
I went to 23 one time.
Oh.
And the whole time I was thinking, this water is disgusting. And I'm like, I'm sure I'm coming out with like leeches all over my body. And I never went down. I'm like, this is gross. Why do people come down here? One time.
Oh, okay.
I think that's the only time I went there, probably too. If that's the same time. But
Maybe. Yeah. I can't remember who was there, but I went down and they were like, yeah, let's do it. And it's like, this is just because I went swimming down in like my ice cold water in some of the ponds down, like
Yeah.
some of the ones that didn't have fish in it, and crystal clear, beautiful. And like, why would people swim in this nasty water?
You had your own private 23.
But it was so cold.
How did we not know about this and just like hijack it? This is another missed opportunity.
Teresa Smith and I have a story, but I'm not going to share that one. Like,
oh, okay.
All right.
Well, Kathy, do you have any last words you want to share with us, or words?
No, I feel like I've shared all sorts of things.
You're all shared out.
I am so grateful for doing this, and every time you put out a new one, like I said, I haven't watched or listened, and no one said you should watch him, Kathy. And I'm like, you're right, but I feel like I'm a better listener, right?
You're a multitasker.
Well, you can watch for a few minutes to get it in your head, and
and I have seen pictures, and I love seeing like the people's faces, and it's just like I just want to sit down with everyone and have this conversation and say, you want to interject and say, what about ask questions? But this is just so good because that will probably never happen, right? That we get.
You know what? I think we can make that happen someday, because I had that same idea. Like, I don't want to do that now because I don't want people to ask questions, because I love finding out about people as we do the interviews. But I think once we've interviewed the majority of the people, or maybe everybody, we should do one huge Zoom.
One ginormous Zoom and get everybody on.
Everybody.
I don't think anybody would get a word in edgewise. I'm not sure, but
no,
we could divide up into groups. We could divide up into groups. Yeah.
It's true. No, big, and I think that, like you were saying, that's one of the great things. I think Scott mentioned this, that we all feel like going away. I'm not sure that I felt like everybody felt like that, but I feel like they were all family, right? We're family and been together for so long, and that's what I told my kids. I'm like, but we were together for a long time. We knew each other so well, and to be able to just call each other friends, and
because if you were in someone's life, you were in all of it, right?
Yep.
It's like it was church and it was school and it was
there
everything. It was the community and every dance and everything. Yeah.
And that's what makes it special, that, like, you know what? We may not know each other, but we want to know. We want to know what's going on with everybody.
Yeah. That's fun.
And you mentioned maybe when you watch it at first, it's kind of like Napoleon Dynamite. It's a little slow moving.
No.
But then you get it after a while.
Yeah.
That's funny.
No. I didn't ever feel like it was. I didn't ever fall asleep. I've never fallen asleep, and I didn't ever turn it off. No, it's great. So thank you both. I know it's a lot of time. A lot of time, and I appreciate you putting in the time.
It's fun, and we get to catch up with everybody. And
we're the lucky ones who do get to talk to everybody. So that's fun.
Wow.
So don't get the idea of starting your own Zoom.
Yeah, because I'm super tech savvy. Obviously, you could tell. Like, why can't I see you?
No, it was so nice to see you and catch up. I'm grateful that Lance was able to. Oh, I would be in trouble if I didn't say, when I lived in Corpus Corky, a family moved into our ward, and the lady's name was Meryl Lee, and their last name is Spigner or Spigner.
Spigner.
Mm-hmm. And then I saw that her middle name was Kartchner, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. I know someone named Kathy Kartchner. So we put two and two together, and their family was cool. It was kind of another way to keep up with what Kathy was doing, because
that's cool.
Meryl Lee would tell me kind of what she'd been doing with you guys and stuff.
So her dad is Lance's brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And we don't see him hardly. They're in
Katy, Texas, I believe, which is over near Houston.
Oh, Houston. Yeah. That's why I'm like, Houston is what I've
I think
heard.
they're still in Texas.
Yeah. No, they are. Yeah.
So,
and it's a small world. I mean, and it really is so interesting how, like, you go out and so many people are like, oh, I know somebody. I had a roommate. Like, and Lance is always so amazed that this little teeny tiny town, there's just so many connections. I'm like, I think it's so awesome. Like,
that's cool.
I don't know. So,
well, you take care, and
thank you.
Thank you again for your time and the things that you've shared with us. It's going to be really special for a lot of people.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy.
Have
a good night.
Have a good night.
You too. Good night.
I know that this could hurt me bad, I know that this could feel like that, but I just can't stop. That my defenses drop. I know that I was born to kill any angel on my windowsill, but it's so dark inside. I throw the windows wide.